just leave him. Okay.
Hold on! Uh-oh! That's one place.
Alright, we go now.
Yo, sit down.
Turn it up! You would not have a torah.
The world's oldest known complete Torah scroll may have been found in Bologna University Library in Italy. The sheepskin document dates from around 1155 and had been mistakenly catalogued in the 17th century. How the scroll got here is a mystery.
The question is posed to the people who believe in the Torah, such as myself. Everyone says the Torah comes out of Kevin. Pyramid text is a book in stone. In order for us to plagiarize, would we not have to have been there to read that?
So what's the message of Torah, which was written by really hundreds of thousands of people? It's only one message.
Yes. See what he did.
Like a farmer can only plow the land where he is, and only he can plant the seeds where he is, and only he can hope for the crops where he is.
The problem, specifically how I want to use unmasking data from the Cairo Genizah to address an aspect of the problem. Let's talk about what the problem is. Looked at a number of documents in the Cairo Genizah, about 30.
How is it that you plagiarized when y'all never came to Egypt?
Based on dates that he assigned to documents and the locational information in the geographic toponyms, in the nisbas, if we could figure out ebbs and flows of migration into Egypt using roughly these 30 documents in these donor lists.
The only way we can actually plagiarize if we were actually there reading the book.
The intellectual influence.
Computer scientists at Tel Aviv University are using artificial intelligence to gather the fragments of the world's largest collection of medieval documents, the legendary Cairo Genizah, to tell the story of 1,000 years of Jewish history and culture. They have reconstructed more than 1,000 documents from 350,000 individual items found in the Cairo storage room, more in the past few months than in 110 years of conventional scholarship. Several scholars believe that in some ways the contents of the Cairo Genizah are more important than the Dead Sea Scrolls.
If I have more time, I will go in. Thank you very much. I'll take that. He said he's lying. Coming into the den. I would say he's more of a walking, wandering hyena. Coming into a den of lions. Yes, okay, kill him. Kill him.
Is that our ancestors left for us for countless thousands of years. We don't have to reinvent nothing at all. We have the books in stone, we have the information, so we don't have to get into our own personal ego trip. We must spiritually empower ourselves and go back to the original Holy Land, www.kemetnu, that's KEMETNU, and on it you'll see our annual trips.
A great interest in the Cairo Genizah, which figures as a real and symbolic space in an antique land. And the Genizah, a repository for manuscripts in Cairo.
A Jewish custom that goes back several hundred years before the rise of Islam. What's special about the Cairo Genizah is that it was in Cairo. This Genizah was buried inside a synagogue behind a wall. There are in total about 330,000 pieces of paper. Religious literature, which perhaps forms something like 95% of the material. Centuries for which the Genizah is richest are the 11th, 12th, and early part of the 13th centuries. And the synagogue is nested amongst many, many Coptic churches. This is in Old Cairo, or called Fustat, which was heavily Christian in the Middle Ages.
When a Torah scroll wears out, when Torah writing wears out, tefillin, mezuzah, or words of Torah, we don't throw them away. What we do is, some people bury them, right? However, the oldest custom was, you had what's called a Genizah. Genizah literally means to put away. It's a place where gonez means to put something away. So Genizah was usually in the synagogue, and it was a place where you put all the old manuscripts, old Torahs, old Tanakhs, etc., etc. The oldest Hebrew version of Ben Sira, predating the Greek and the Latin by hundreds and hundreds of years. And this is a letter that Solomon Schechter wrote to Mrs. Lewis. He writes, I think we have reason to congratulate ourselves. The fragment I brought with me represents a piece of the original Hebrew of Ecclesiasticus. This is his own underline. You can see how excited he was. You know, there's like drops of ink, there's things crossed out, underlined. He says, don't speak about this yet. That's a papyrus. It's all squished together. There is a section of Tanakh. Now, it's actually the oldest Tanakh. It's actually 942 CE. Tanakh means Torah, prophets, and writings. All 24 books. This is actually the last page, and fortunately, we know who wrote it and when he wrote it.
People have no idea what it takes to do field research, the meditative time to sit down in my library for day in and day out and research and doing critical analysis and doing these types of things. You know, it's just growing up in African consciousness, but using African everything to justify it.
The grass has been cut so the snakes can be seen.
You all let Liquor P live too long, right? Because Liquor P, which is aka Zion Lex, he should have been taken out already. Going on Sunday the TV talking shit, so it's time for us to address the situation. Zion Lex and his cheerleaders making a fool of themselves. So Liquor P is like what?
That's it.
We're not ducking nobody.
It was a different ball game. Nigga, you don't know what you think you know. Trust me, man. Trust me, you don't know that. And I could prove that based upon your actions. That's what it is, man. So talk to me. The grass is cut. I see the snakes.